News for us and predictions about what's to come. We have Larry Shover. He's in the pits of the CME Group. We have an economic street fight that you don't want to miss as well. Ryan Sweet says the economy is healthier than those jobs numbers suggest. And William Black says we are in a very weak recession and we need more stimulus to get out of it. He'll also talk about some of the banking issues because he is a great bank regulator. Let's start, though, with Larry and today's market action at the CME. Larry, first of all, you say, we talked about this before, that today, it wasn't bad enough so that the market would be buoyed by a sense that the Fed is going to get in, but it was bad enough so that the market was worried about overall economic concerns. It's sort of the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, today was a Goldilocks market, not too hot, not too cold, but let's keep in mind the main catalyst was not the BLS report this morning. I mean, that was a factor. I think there seems to be an overwhelming disappointment with what happened with the June 28th, June 29th economic summit, where people heralded that as being a breakthrough, that there'd be direct capital injections into banks and everything would be great. Now people are realizing that, hey, the sovereigns are going to have to give guarantees, and the market doesn't like that. That's what's going on right now.
Larry, this morning when we were talking to you on the phone, you said watch out for the 1363 level. If we fall below that, that of course was a June 19th level, and here we are well below that. Did you really not anticipate that it would be this bad? I mean, it's been a really tough day, so clearly even you, a seasoned veteran, were surprised by the market reaction.
Yeah, Liz, I'm very surprised, but right now we're holding up in that July 2nd low of 1355. If we hold there, it's just going to be a near-term negative for the market. I don't think we're going to see much lower than that unless something material comes out on Monday. But do keep in mind, below that, the narrative will change if we get below 1330. Below that, we have 1270 in the S&P, so it's a really, really fragile spot we're in right now at 1355.
Larry, were there any safe havens at all today, or are folks just cashing out?
It seems like everybody was cashing out in the dollar. All I saw was red. It's just a major wholesale de-risking, and really nothing was safe. You did mention some retailers, but that's because nobody shops at Nordstrom's and Macy's anymore. Everybody goes to Dollar General. So, of course, that stock should go up. And other than that, everything, there's a major de-risking. People just want a roadmap from Europe. And until we see that, fundamentals and convention continue to be out the window.
Yeah, we're back to 2009 when people were shopping at Dollar General.
Yes.
So we're the same thing once again. Larry, stand by. Do us a favor because we're going to come back to you when the S&P futures pits close.
Sure.
Well, the number of jobs created in June coming in short of expectations, but does this data mean an economic downturn is straight ahead?
Perfect time for a street fight. Today's bull, Ryan Sweet. He's the senior economist at Moody's, and our bear is former bank regulator William Black. Ryan, this number looks really bad. What are we missing? Where is the bullish side to this?
Well, I would prefer to say we're cautiously optimistic. I think 80,000 jobs is definitely a disappointment. Our forecast for 125,000 jobs would still be a disappointment. This is a very, very tough job market, but I think the 80,000 jobs added in June is a little bit misleading because a lot of the weakness was focused in just a handful of industries, primarily education and healthcare, which typically adds 30,000 jobs during this recovery, only added 2,000. That's not sustainable. We're going to see a rebound there. Retail was weak, primarily department stores. I still think there may be a little bit of some weather-related payback, but also leading indicators, some of the key things that we were looking at, temp help improved. So I think we're likely going to see a little bit of some better job numbers lying ahead.
All right. William Black, who, by the way, was one of the best bank regulators of all time, according to my friend Paul Mola, who's written about the S&L crisis. So he knows what he's talking about. We're going to ask you some questions about J.P. Morgan at the end. But first, let's talk about the economy. You think that not only is it not just muddling through, but we may be headed for a recession. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that there are three serious risks of a recession. And Moody's, by the way, in December of last year said that we're going to have fiscal headwinds because the stimulus has run off. So that's one problem. The second problem is the lead-in story you just had. Europe is terrible, and Europe finds no way to get out of its problems. So it is dragging down the United States, and it goes from imminent crisis to imminent crisis. And the third is the fiscal cliff that we're all facing in December of this year, and that the markets are already beginning to anticipate. This is austerity on ultra steroids, And as with Europe, it would send the United States hurtling back into a great recession.
Ryan, scratch back here, if you will, or use your bullish hooves, or at least you say cautiously optimistic moves, to say what will keep us from falling off that fiscal cliff, and perhaps from a market standpoint. Europe we cannot control. It's not our show. Nonetheless, Wall Street, we know, has in the past climbed the wall of worry. Will we see that again? Will we just see these markets kind of grind higher?
Well, I think we're going to continue to improve in fits and starts. I agree Europe is a major headwind. The fiscal cliff is arguably the biggest concern that we have. The closer that we get towards the end of the year, I think more uncertainty is going to build about how we avoid falling off the fiscal cliff. But right now, there's few signs of a recession. I think we're just muddling along. I think it's a very sluggish recovery. If you look since the beginning of this year, average monthly job growth about 150,000, which is identical to what we saw last year. So it is pretty much a blah labor market. Until we get some of these uncertainties resolved, I think we're going to continue to just grind gradually higher. And I think, we're in a sluggish recovery, but I don't think we're headed for another downturn.
All right. Well, William, I agree with you that the last thing we need right now is austerity. What we need is growth. I disagree with you about the way you get there. You think we need more government stimulus. I would say we need more private sector growth and perhaps even less government than we now have. But make your case.
Well, the two things are consistent, right? Right now what we have is an $11 trillion loss of household wealth. And that means that demand has been tremendously harmed, and that means that business wasn't hiring. And so much of the hiring that's occurred in the private sector is because of government stimulus. After all, most of the money in the government stimulus goes to the private sector. That's where we buy the supplies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but hold on a second. A lot of that money was wasted, as you know. I mean, whenever the Wall Street Journal went in and looked at those so-called stimulus jobs, they found out that they weren't there. The government was way over-reporting the job creation effect of its stimulus.
No, look at the overall numbers of the recovery and look at it in comparison to Europe, where we ran a real-world test, all right? They went through austerity. We went through a mild stimulus package, and the results are in. And the United States economy, and this is where we agree with Moody's, is in a weak but real recovery that lasted for about 2 years. But that recovery is in severe danger of being completely derailed by the three factors that I've talked about. And as I listened, I heard agreement with me, not disagreement.
I want to get in, Ryan, here for one quick second, but quickly I have to ask you about specifically, William, the J.P. Morgan situation now being part of the investigation of LIBOR, not to mention all of the other banks. Where do you stand on banks' involvement in manipulating interest rates? Do you think it is more widespread than just Barclays, who was fined already?
Oh, we know it is. In fact, Barclays reported to the City of London authorities that it was widespread and alleged that Barclays was one of the less dishonest entities. So yes, this too has not been calculated in at all. This is by 2 orders of magnitude the largest antitrust violation in the history of the world that we've ever learned about. And the liability is going to be extraordinary, and much of it's going to be brought about through suits in the United States.
By the way, let me just emphasize, William, for those who don't know, you were a key regulator when the whole S&L crisis began. But one of the people who you know very well is Tim Geithner, because you focused in on Tim Geithner when he was head of the New York Fed. And that's when, apparently, in the year 2007, some of this LIBOR manipulation was going on. Will his actions be called into question?
Well, Geithner, we already know, was an abject failure as a regulator, and you're quite right. What Barclays did intelligently was try to settle early with the banking authorities, who are very weak in both countries. But now it's going to get into the Serious Fraud Office in the United Kingdom, has announced an investigation. The state AGs, who have been far more aggressive, attorney generals in the United States, are going to have claim on behalf of every state pension fund is going to be a victim of this. And as a result, there's going to be, given the much broader U.S. discovery than is allowed in the United Kingdom, far more of these embarrassing things comes out. And you know that it's already a political scandal in the United Kingdom about the role of the regulators facilitating the fraud.
Right. By the way, again, we wanted to focus on William's expertise with regard to the banking issue as well. So, Ryan, we didn't mean to give you short shrift there, but we're going to have you back to talk more of your bullishness coming up. We want to thank you both, former bank regulator William Black and Moody's senior economist Ryan Sweet. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. We're digging more deeply into this job story. We're talking to one professor who says there is one policy that was supposed to put Americans to work, but is actually hurting our economy badly. He's going to explain.
Also, portfolio manager Lee Munson says he has an investment idea that most people kind of roll their eyes at, but he says it is a contrarian call, the ones we like, that can make you a lot of money. He's here to tell you what that is. That's next. And look out, Apple, Amazon.com nipping at your heels. And we're not talking about the tablet market this time. As we go to a break, take a look at some tech stocks and the S&P weekly losers.
The Closing Bell is sponsored by TD Ameritrade, where a smart game plan starts with smarter trading tools.
What if you had thermal night vision goggles, like in a special ops mission? You'd spot movement, gather intelligence with minimal collateral damage. But rather than neutralizing enemies in their sleep, you'd be targeting stocks to trade. Well, that's what Trade Architect's heat maps do. They make you a trading assassin. Trade Architect, TD Ameritrade's empowering web-based trading platform. Trade commission-free for 60 days, and we'll throw in up to $600 when you open an account.
Making the numbers work. First on the Willis Report, what the latest jobs report will mean for the candidates on the campaign trail. Then on Dobbs, taking a tax hit, who the record hikes will hurt the most, and Wells Fargo chief economist talks with Cavuto tonight.
With my friends, we'll do almost anything. Out for drinks, eats. I have very well-fitting dentures. I like to eat a lot of fruits. Love them all. The seal I get with the Super Polygrip Free keeps the seeds from getting up underneath.
Even well-fitting dentures let in food particles. Super Polygrip is zinc-free. With just a few dabs, it's clinically proven to seal out more food particles, so you're more comfortable and confident while you eat.
A lot of things going on in my life, and last thing I want to be thinking about is my dentures.
Try zinc-free Super Polygrip.
Dad, my computer is so slow.
What's the matter?
It's just old. Let's go to the store and get a new one.
Fix it online at PCmatic.com.
PCmatic.com.
PCmatic is a free download that boosts performance and a lot more. That's PCmatic.com. PCmatic can make this faster, but you also have a virus. PCmatic with Super Shield makes sure you never get another virus again. Look here. PCmatic sees you're also freezing, right?
It's really slow and I have to restart it a lot.
PCmatic can fix all of that with a click of a button.
Wow. Thanks to PCmatic, my computer's running a lot faster. And the virus is gone.
Online video should be faster too. PCmatic also boosted your internet speed.
Will PCmatic keep my computer running this way?
PCmatic runs automatically and sends a report to your inbox.
Well, thanks to PCmatic, I guess I don't need a new computer. And we can get back to the game.
Go to PCmatic.com today for your free download. That's PCmatic.com.
Saturday, the presidential race, and an unforgettable case. Herman Cain and Casey Anthony's attorney, Jose Baez, join Sullivan at 7. Then at 8, Lou Dobbs on America's rocky road to prosperity. Plus at 9, John exposes freeloaders. It's a Stossel investigation.
S&P futures closing right now. Let's go back to Larry Shover at the CME Group. And Larry, what's on store for Monday? What does it look like going into the weekend?
I think it's more of the same. I mean, let's break down this week, and that will help for next week. ISM number was soft. Nobody cared. 4 major central banks eased policy this week. Nobody cared. We had a tepid BLS report. Yeah, the market was down 1%, but really nobody cared. All eyes are on the news that comes out of Europe, and whatever happens next week, it's all about confidence and getting a roadmap out of Europe.
Larry Shover, have a good weekend, Larry. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Shares of